Hi, I'm
Hi, Laura. Where are you?
in Florida.
Are you? Oh, okay. I don't you usually come back around this time.
Um, um, I'm coming back May 6th, so soon, but I'm going up to Boston first, coming back, then
Wow.
we
Busy
usually
life.
early
Has
May.
it been good to be there this winter?
Yes, except the last 2 days we finally got rain. I haven't had as many ocean swims, but yes, it's been very good to be down here.
Oh, that's so nice. Well, you know we've had good weather, and then I'm so happy there's a little bit of rain because everything I had died in the drought last.
Yeah, well, I had pictures. I know my forsythia came out, my daffodils, and then I think there's some yard work to be done.
Yeah, I bet.
But have you been by the house or not?
By your house?
Yeah.
No, I don't usually go that way.
Well, all I keep my fingers crossed. Nobody calls me and tells me there's a tree on the house.
Oh, oh, there was a tremendous crash. I think it was Saturday. I thought, oh my God, not again. And flash, crash, and lightning, because I've been hit 3 times with lightning, and my neighbors have too. But I don't think it's done any damage, but I won't know until my tank is completely empty and then there's no water.
Oh God. Well, I mean, and I know you had the forest fires that you could see from like Munn's house and stuff.
Oh, yeah, the Hesses saw, I didn't see it, but I remember hearing helicopters and I thought, what are they doing? That sound, it's so loud. Yeah.
Well, and I wondered if you could smell smoke because
I
that was,
thought, well, I smelled, I thought somebody was barbecuing. So maybe that was the
I
smoke,
think that's kind of what you were smelling.
because it was an unusual barbecue smell. And I thought, why is somebody barbecuing? They shouldn't even be running a fire in this
Yeah,
weather, because warning that there was danger of fire because we live in the forest, right?
right. I mean, and the forest is coming back and closing in my house. I don't get the sun I used to.
Oh, it's so beautiful to see the little teeny tiny green buds on the trees now. But when we moved here from California, I said, well, we need a sprinkling system. They said, no, people don't use those here. That was 51 years ago. And I also said, do we have to worry about fires? Because I came, well, we didn't have fires in Palos Verdes, but certainly California had fires. And so they said, no, we haven't had any fires. So we've been lucky, right?
Yes. Although I think they've had a couple others in that West Milford, foothills of the Appalachian, the other side of Green Pond or what have you.
Yeah. Okay. So how
Anyway,
many?
I hope everybody else got that. Poor Nancy, what a
Yeah.
mess that is. I mean, God.
I was stuck on Christmas Eve in that mess and ended up
Yeah.
trying to get from Cayman to Tampa and then from Tampa home. And yeah,
Mhm.
so
And
that was expected for them. So
I
is
have
she yet or is she still on the way?
I think I haven't even had a chance to find out what time she was taking off. We had storms again last night here. I think they didn't hit her down where she is, and hopefully she's in the air. I'm expecting my daughter Lee to fly in around 6 o'clock tonight. So I'm hoping she gets in between storms. But we waited, we had no rain all winter long, and we just got some. So
Wow, that's big.
it
How,
hit other places, but we're in a little bubble. They built the space center basically 30 miles from here for because of that bubble in historically. But as this particular thing, like the other day, about I don't know, 6 miles up the road, it rained 5 inches and it didn't rain here. So,
oh,
we're right on that line where no rain. I hope other people, get into this. I didn't get a chance to set this up, to help Nancy out.
that was so nice to do that. And Mary Gillespie was picking up her son from, he had a colonoscopy today. And so
Uh-huh.
she was picking him up. So she plans to be on, but she won't be there until after 1. Well, after,
Okay, I haven't heard from anybody else.
oh,
No,
I wonder if anybody got the message and if they're going to be on.
well, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, I sent it out. I would have called this morning, but I had to go out I had to go to therapy myself. I should have gone to a mass funeral service instead. And I finally decided I just can't do everything and get ready
Wow.
to have Lee come. And, I
So,
got flooded. My lanai is flooded. I was, darn near
oh,
myself. So that's the way it goes.
how about you? What's the therapy for?
Mostly balance and trying to keep
Hmm.
strong and healthy. My COPD has gotten bad. I'm having a heart TEE preliminary procedure tomorrow. I've got an eye doctor rescheduled appointment tomorrow morning at 9. Then I go to the hospital at noon. Then I think, and I had to find out from a doctor this morning, could I because they gave me a former prednisone to take for COPD. Could I still have the procedure with that? Yes, that was okay.
Were you a smoker?
No, well, a little while, not very long. Didn't grow up. My parents didn't smoke. Don was a heavy smoker.
Oh,
secondary smoke is just about as bad.
so secondhand, huh? Yeah.
Mostly,
Well,
I smoked. I started, in college. They're giving out free cigarettes, and I didn't want to gain weight, so I was, or the freshman 20 pounds or whatever it was. So, they would hand you free cigarettes, and finally, I decided, well, I'll try one. And when I'd be in the library, you could go out and have a cigarette as a break rather than go eat something. And so I smoked till from like 55 to 1968, and was very happy to quit.
oh, wow. So, you don't know if anybody, well, it's a little early. Last night, I thought my iPad was on my bed and I thought the light stayed on. I thought, oh my God. So it did run down my battery. I think I must have hit something and I tried to figure
Yeah.
out, have an iPad, how I couldn't find out where to turn it off or if it
I have
happened.
trouble, Billy setting me up on an iPad. I use an Android system and it's not compatible, and I'm learning, but that was complicating. I was working on, could I do this? But I got no emails and no phone calls today from anybody saying they could or couldn't come. So I just don't know.
Okay, so yeah,
And if they're trying to get on Nancy's link, I don't think that'll work. And I don't know if that will discourage the,
well, yours was pretty clear and easy if people picked up the message.
yeah, it's a question if they didn't check emails today, but they would, oh, here comes Becky. Hooray.
Oh, Becky. Hi, Becky.
Somebody else reads emails.
Yeah.
And I am recording this so we can share it with Nancy. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Oh, look at you. Your background is making us all jealous.
Yeah, and that's an honest picture taken from my lanai. Not today because it's rainy, but
Did you go to Mazatlan this year, Becky?
Yeah, we were there for 10 weeks.
10
Well,
weeks.
We
Wow.
spent 1 week on the East Coast with Maeve and Matt and Joe, and that was magic because she's just turned 5.
Oh,
So
but you weren't afraid because of all the bad news about Mexico, so you weren't worried about going there.
well, when we got down to Mazatlan, where they were reporting that the incidents with El Chapo's son was actually a couple 100 kilometers north in Culiacan and had nothing to do with Mazatlan. There
I-
were pictures of Mazatlan
I've
for
been
a
to
building that's
Culiacan.
not there. Pardon?
I've been to Culiacan. My brother-in-law worked there. He was a soil scientist, so we spent some time in Culiacan.
Well, and it's a shame when news gets broadcasted incorrectly. And we contacted friends that were already there and they said, it's not happening here. It's
Oh,
not
that's
even. So we came down, and the first day, which was a couple days after, the city was still quiet, but there was nothing to worry about.
oh, that's good. That's good.
mm,
So my Canadian friends have been going to the games, and I'll speak to them on Zoom tonight. How are the games doing? Is it Brantford, where they went?
Do you know what sport we're talking about?
It's Boston Marathon Day, if you all
Yeah,
go.
I know that one because I have a friend running in that,
Oh, good
but
for, male,
um,
male or female?
male.
Well, good for him.
Yeah,
Oh,
and he's probably 63, 64. He's not a kid.
All right.
oh,
Well, I mean, the goal is, it's hard to get into for starters, I think. And the goal is to finish. You're not going to beat the Kenyans probably anyway, but
It's lightly raining there as
it is.
well.
Yeah. I was watching this morning, when I went to balance therapy a little bit later this morning, the gal that I work with was watching it off and on her iPad. You know, she was interested. And I told her this story when they had that terrible bombing thing. One of the bombers, you remember that year, went
mhm.
and hid in a barrel on the edge of the property where my son Gary was managing that plant on that very spot. They didn't
Oh,
know
wow.
it.
We were in town when they caught him.
Okay, yeah.
Michael had a conference and we were driving into Boston as it was all happening. And we were sequestered in our hotel down on the riverfront. And Twitter at that point was just really starting to catch on. And it was the news source way ahead of anything being reported on television.
Yeah. And one got shot, but the one that hid in the barrel, escaped from where there on Gary's uh, company's property and went to the boatyard where you caught up with him.
Oh, and Copley Square was kind of a mess with
Wow.
different plywood fronts. They didn't allow people back into Copley until almost the end of the conference.
I had a dear friend who was in the hospital having exploratory heart surgery at the time. And of course,
Wow.
once this happened, in Boston, she had flown from the Syracuse area to Boston. Her sister had come up from North Carolina. I mean, what a trauma that was. But, because they had to put her operation aside, they couldn't do it, etc.
There, in the organization, it was a nutrition conference, and there were a lot of people from Tufts, which is, of course, right in the
Oh,
downtown
yeah.
core, right around there. And they'd go for a meeting somewhere, and everything would be fine. And then all of a sudden, you had to stay in place. You weren't allowed to leave, and that happened for the next few days. It was an interesting time to be there. Oh, and the hotel was running out of food.
Sure.
Wow.
And well, it was a huge conference that had come in, and there were problems with food poisoning. I mean, it
Oh,
was all
God.
kinds of silly things that were like, why would that happen? The electricity is not off.
Well, we're not, for that kind of national emergency, that takes a lot of coordination. I don't know that we're that prepared for that even now. I mean, World War II, when I was a kid, they practiced air raids, they practiced things, but we're not doing that right now.
As evidenced by all of our children getting killed in schools.
Yeah. Well, Becky, I don't suppose you've talked to anybody Evelyn and I discussed earlier. I mean, poor Nancy, I'm recording this for whatever it's worth, but what a tough time getting out of Florida. I mean, good God.
My brother left just before that all happened,
Wow.
and he was lucky because it was really by a day that he missed getting out of Florida.
Well, to get on the second plane and then have it, not able to take off and then have to rebook, for a third time, that's tough. I don't know. Does anybody want to call? You want me to call Meredith and see if she's going to get on?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, it's just 1:30. We give her a little bit.
Yeah.
Give her a minute. Okay. So do you think we need to reschedule so more people are available or what?
Well, in doing this for Nancy, the group, her basic thing is not, they're like 9 people, getting dates that 9 people can get to It's-
Oh,
No, I mean, I know we're on that second Tuesday of the month. That's a good.
Oh,
And
no,
so you kind of block it off second Tuesday of the month and
Oh,
don't
Mm.
book anything around that, it's 1:30. Maybe that helps. But what we had said after you did it today, Evelyn, we were not going to do it again till September. I forget why we couldn't do it in the second Tuesday of May.
it's Mondays. Meredith was going somewhere.
That's
Oh.
right.
Yeah.
But like that, when you get 9 people, somebody said, that's why it gets hard.
Do we have 9 people now or not?
There were 9 people counting Nancy in the group, but that's not large. Now, Carol Munn was not on her list, so I did not invite Carol. I know she's in Smoke Rise with a helper, as is he.
Oh, right. Is in Smoke Rise?
Yeah, because Mary Smith had dinner with him last week.
Oh, nice.
They both have like full-time helpers.
Hmm.
I don't know what
No expense spared, I guess, but it's not.
Yeah.
Near Evelyn can go knock on the door and find out if they want to join us.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just happened. All of a sudden, you guys have disappeared.
One of the people I sent a link to was Jackie Arkin. I don't know. We have not seen her recently.
In a long time.
And she was on that list. And Christine Bell, who usually is pretty reliable. I don't know, why
Is she well? I'm gonna have to come in and out. For some reason, I can't see you guys. I don't know what happened.
Were you were seeing us before?
Yeah, so I'm gonna come in and out. So just that
yeah.
you know, I'm coming right back.
Good. Okay. I can see you as you leave.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Wait.
Well, Laura, if it's just the 3 of us, should we postpone until the fall or what? What should we do?
I don't know. We need a quorum of, no, wait, here comes somebody else. That's helpful. We give it a little bit more time. I forget
Okay.
who is FN and why, unless it's Becky coming on twice.
Well, no, it's really weird. I can hear you guys and I don't know where to see you. It's
Yeah, and you're
something is going on with my,
because I am on standard, but I'm on an
for some
Android.
reason you're back. I'm hello.
Okay, I have a light on a chandelier in my dining area down here that does that. We had a big storm yesterday, turn it back on. It's got like 6 little light bulbs. One didn't go. I had a retired general electrician over here a couple of days before that, and he played with it, and we can't figure it out. Sometimes like that, wiring is crazy, but the light went out again, and then I turned the switch off, then I turned it back on, and then it was on again. So
did somebody come on or was that Becky returning?
somebody else
No.
is trying to get on who was still muted. And
Sonia,
I forget
maybe?
whose email ID is
SF2NY?
SF2NY.
Is that
which-
Sonia? Maybe?
No, that's not her. I was gonna go through Jackie Arkin, Christine Bell, Mary Gillespie, Sandra Odian, and it's not Nancy. Let me see.
You think it's Sandra?
That's not her normal approach.
How about Mary Gillespie? She might have already,
Yeah, let me go to my contacts and see what her contact is.
she might have already picked up her son.
Yeah.
Was it?
Anyway, it's
Yes,
certainly
Sonia.
What?
okay. Coming in on another way. You're muted. Unmute. Sandra, unmute. Sandra, you're muted.
How do you pantomime mute? Like, I can't hear you. Right. Yeah. So they are there?
Think I'm unmuted? Yes?
Now you are.
Now you're on. You got it. Hello.
Hi.
Okay,
So who's
Um,
the other person who came on?
hello,
No,
everybody.
it was Sandra.
Becky, what's the weather in Canada?
Oh, well, right now it's raining. We had 2 glorious days. In Fahrenheit, we got up to probably 80, 82. And our daffodils came out, some, the beginning ones. And today it's a high of, I think it reaches 40.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's a heat wave, isn't it?
It was a heat wave. Now we're back. Now we're
Yeah.
below
Yeah,
normal
But,
now.
but you know what? It ruined the skiing, turned
We were-
everything to slush.
we were 88 degrees a few days ago,
Mm.
right.
and it actually literally ate my weeping cherry tree.
Mhm.
Oh, it ate
It's
it.
just too hot and not enough water in the ground. But it was raining yesterday and it's raining a little bit now. Oh, the sun just came.
Yeah,
out.
I see the sun coming out. Well, Jane is in Steamboat and she drove there, makes me nervous because, she had the broken leg from skiing. Did you know that?
No,
Yeah, she broke her leg 2 months ago. And so
Yeah,
she
I think
wasn't,
you told us last time, Ram.
yeah, and so she's in a boot, but she drove and it's going to snow there this week, but they close the slopes every year at April 15th because that's when, I don't know if it's the elk or an animal that's like the elk, they come down the mountain to mate. So skiing is over, but she couldn't go now anyway. I don't know when she'll be able to ski again.
no,
Well,
that's
they
too
also
bad.
sometimes close because economically, people think it's golf season. They just, they don't get the volume that they need to make it economically feasible. Like Gary said in New Hampshire, the slopes are covered with snow, but it's slushed with that warm thing that went through, and now you could go ski, but they're closing because they don't have enough people that are willing to come and pay to ski.
So did Christine Bell or Meredith come on?
No, we have four there are 4 of us on. Evelyn, can't you see? I mean, nobody else has come.
Let me see if I do.
I could call Meredith
Oh.
and
See them. Mhm.
see if
Yeah,
she's
I don't see
coming.
anybody else
Yes.
listed, so.
I'll give Meredith a call and see if by any chance she's gonna attend.
Okay,
Is
And-
Christine well?
Why don't you call Christine Bell and I'll call Meredith? And we know Mary Gillespie's gonna be late. And we know poor Nancy's in an airplane.
I don't know if Christine will, I've got my cell phone here, but I don't know if she'll answer a cell phone call. Let me see. Bell. Let me see.
Is Christine well?
I haven't talked to her in a while, but by now she should be.
That was wrong.
Well, I didn't know if her cancer had returned a while back or she had been in the hospital. There was something said that made me just not know.
She was in a nursing home for a while because places wouldn't take her because she tested positive for COVID. So she was in one in Bloomingdale, but that was almost a month ago.
Leave your number and I will call you back.
Christine?
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Christine. I don't know if you got the message from Laura that there's been a change.
It's Laura.
Okay.
It is
So
me,
we're starting a meeting. I
and
hope you
I
got the
and
message.
Becky and Sandra are
Anyway, it would be in the email,
on message.
easy to get on the Zoom link from Laura.
Got stuck in Florida, couldn't get out. On the third go round, they had to take a flight that she's in the air. currently.
Numbers. If you wish-
We're talking about horse and wondering how much of a consensus, but if you get this in time, jump on. The link is there. I sent the email out last night and it should be understandable. But Hopefully
Uh,
you or Lynn have picked this up and you're somewhere where we can see you soon. Would love to see your face.
she wouldn't take my call from my cell phone because it says private caller. I'll go get my house phone and see if I can call her on that, but the other number that I called was, her mobile.
All right, the one number I called for Meredith, I left a message. You probably heard it in the background. And I don't know what else to say. I don't have another phone number for her on my cell phone, right? And
Are
I
you
left a
still in
message.
Florida?
I am in Florida, yes.
Yeah.
I am going to Boston next week. I'm having a heart thing done tomorrow to see if I can have a Watchman implant a little bit later. Lots going on medically, but my daughter's flying in tonight, or supper time here, leaving Boston. Then I'll be up in Boston doing something on the Wellesley campus, spending a night in a potential retirement community where the kids would like me to move, and doing a lot of things like that, and also getting to hear my granddaughter. She's a senior, one of my granddaughters, but the youngest one, senior at Conn College, singing her a cappella choir solo. She's been a cappella choir for 4 years, and she's a senior, and so she sings a solo senior year, and that's just a fluke. They moved it because of COVID. It should have been, when I wasn't present, I had booked that. They want me to come a day early. She's getting a special award in economics, and I said, I can't change. I got to drive people here to the airport. Everybody in our
The
leaving,
message
so
Laura, that
it is what it is. But I'm stopping in Washington, D.C.
is
on the
right.
way home
What?
to go to a memorial service for the woman who was the former ambassador to Kenya.
Oh, could, if
Which
send
would
it to
be
you right now, could you
pretty
still get?
interesting. If I can
I'll
survive
tell
all
her-
that, I'll
send
be
it to you
back
right
here in time to pack and go north. That's what I'm up to.
Hi, Chris, sorry to interrupt. I just talked to Christine. Could you resend the link right now, email to her?
Yeah, I
She said
think
she didn't see it yesterday.
you should have seen it this morning, for God's sakes. Sorry about that. Hang on, let's see if I can get it.
So Becky, it's a little cool there and I'm warming up on a cup of coffee. I'm always cold.
It was chilly this morning. We went for a walk early and yeah, but it's so nice to see spring flowers. We're just
Oh,
at
really?
the very early trees are getting that lime green sheen right now.
Yeah. Up until last week, there wasn't a bud on any of my trees. And I had I had some of my California family here for 2 weeks. They came for Easter. The kids were on, spring break. So it was fun, but oh my God, it was so exhausting.
Yeah,
There wasn't an empty bed in the house, let me put it that way.
did you do all the cooking, Sandra?
I didn't do all the cooking.
Good for
I
you.
did very little cooking, and I said, we're going out.
Yeah,
It gets to be too much. Plus, we've been going down to this state park that's wish I could remember exactly where it is, but anyway, it's on the river, so that on one side of the river, you're in New Jersey, and on the other side of the river, you're in Pennsylvania.
yeah, like Flemington.
It's past Flemington. It's south of Flemington. I can't remember the name of the park, but anyway, we've been using it for Mother's Day, Easter, because then Kristen can drive up. It's halfway for her and it's halfway for us and for Mark's family and any friends. So we also have, aside from the cousins who flew in, there are 2 cousins living in New York now, and they come for everything, which is wonderful. But Easter really did me in. Between the prepping for the Easter fest and, sheets and towels and, oh my God, I'm still working on it.
Oh, God, all right. No Easter egg hunt though, right?
It's a strong reminder that I'm not a young chicken anymore.
Yeah.
Who are your grandchildren now? I forget.
We have a 7-year-old, an almost 10-year-old, and a 20-year-old. All girls.
But those are good manageable ages.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just sent Christine, Evelyn, I sent her, I forwarded the email.
Okay, I'm just calling her now.
I guess we're soon
I
going to be a
just,
little long.
Laura just sent the email. Did you pick it up?
Yeah, Tony's fiddling about with it at the moment, putting in my passport number. So I'll be on there in a few minutes.
Okay, we'll look forward to seeing you.
Okay, bye.
I don't know why I had to do a passport number. Anyway, okay.
Who was that? I didn't hear.
Christine.
Christine.
So she said she'd be on in a few minutes.
Okay, well, that'll be nice. So
Should we
it sounds like
start?
we're going to
Should we
be a
wait for
long
her?
distance book.
Well, you know what, Evelyn, you might start and ask how many people watch the videos. I started to copy those links and send another one, and then there were other things more urgent I had to do. But
Yeah. Did anybody watch the videos?
I watched, like 2 or 3 of them, and I watched them before. They're really interesting. And my friend Ada, whom you all know because she's come to some book group stuff, she just went and heard Geraldine Brooks speak at Ridgewood. And although they had watched the same video, the YouTube videos, they still found in person, they found her very interesting to have, it was the same kind of canned speech that she has that you can see on YouTube. But, I guess there's something even better when you hear it live.
Person. Well, a week ago, I don't know if you know the Paces who used to live in Kinnelon.
Yeah.
Okay, they were visiting Diane, and they live on the vineyard, and so they said that, and Geraldine Brooks lived on the vineyard, and she used to live. There are 5 different areas of the vineyard, separate
Right.
towns, separate everything, and so she used to live at one that was more country than where she is now, and she's closer to where the Paces live on the vineyard. They've been there for 20 years. And Elaine Pace said that she's like everybody else, that the nice thing about the vineyard is that people don't go crazy over celebrities. They don't ask them for autographs. And so she can lead sort of a normal life like a regular person right there on the vineyard without the publicity.
And enjoy a horse. I don't know if that's regular person or not.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something about horses. First of all, my son, well, Jane started it. One of her summers at Cornell was at the Lana Lobel horse farm. They breed horses there, and Jane groomed horses. And so the next summer, I got my 2 boys to go there and groom horses, and they were having a horse auction of these thoroughbreds that they raised there. And so I said we were invited. And so I said, let's get dressed up because these are billionaires who are going to be bidding on these horses. Well, so I got the kids in their cute little suits and everything. And we got there, and the billionaires in jeans, and hi, Christine. Hi, glad you're on.
We have had such a problem, but in any event, here I am.
Well, good. Glad
Sort of.
Good to see you.
So anyway, I was just telling some personal horse stories, and Geraldine Brooks didn't start with horses until she was 50 years old. I rode in the horse show in Smoke Rise, and I won a ribbon. But I'm afraid of horses because when I was very young, the horse was galloping through the woods and I fell off the back of the horse. And so I wasn't hurt. And then the next time I got on a horse, the horse took me down his neck and I went psh while I was eating. And then the next time I was on a horse, the horse decided that here's a real patsy. I'm going to take care of her quick. He went right back to the barn. So when we started up again, and maybe trotting, the horse said, I'm going to get rid of her for good. So he rode me into a tree with a low branch and I got knocked off the horse. So that's my horse story. But I that they smelled, like she talks about this in the book, how horses sense things. I didn't know, but they smelled fear on me.
Oh, yes.
And they smelled that right away.
Oh,
It's
yes.
got a real sucker here. Yeah. Anyway, so
I guess you should ask how many people have ridden horses. I mean, I could tell, we could all tell horse stories, I think, but
Yeah.
I did actually ride when we first moved to Smoke Rise. I did actually ride a few times on the trails of Smoke Rise where they're now houses. And back when Smoke Rise was very different.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Wow. I grew up with horses, so we always had a half dozen horses.
Oh, lucky you. I always
That's-
wanted one. The kid up the street, his father bought her one. My family said, no, it's too expensive, of course. Play tennis, it's cheap.
Yeah. So, so she was, you probably, if you listen to the videos, that she was widowed about 4 years ago and she was married. She was a journalist overseas and for about 10 years, married to Tony Horwitz, who was a historian writer. And she authored 9 books, but she became horse crazy and she has a horse named Valentine. So she wrote this story with 3 different worlds involved in it. And I wonder about some of the details that you probably know, but I didn't know, that the Civil War years were 1861 to 1865. So her story begins before the Civil War and before emancipation. And emancipation was, I wrote that down, slavery was abolished in 1865. And there's another point that kind of touches on, but not quite, and that was the romance between Jess and Theo. And it wasn't until, get this, 1967 that the Supreme Court struck down the laws that banned marriage between people of different races. So miscegenation was prohibited before 1967. And it wasn't until 1865 until slavery was abolished. So this story starts before slavery was abolished, but they talked about this a bit about the people riding in the army, in the Union Army. And one of the really bad people was William Quantrill. And he was with the Confederate States Army. He was a guerrilla leader and a mass murderer. Because remember the story with Thomas Scott, and Thomas Scott just got away, but Quantrill ran off with quite a few of the horses. Anyway, he would roam the area of Missouri and Kansas and apprehend escaped slaves. And so one of the most brutal warfare raids burned down homes in Ohio and Kentucky. What do you think of Tenbrook? What'd you think of him? Anybody? Laura disappeared for a while.
What did you say?
Ken Brooks?
As a slave owner, as a
He was really offer all the money he could get from a horse. And he sent that horse and he renamed the horse. He renamed him Lexington because he felt that was going to make him more money, because if he raced in Lexington, Kentucky, that would be something in his favor, right? The Kentucky Derby was started in 1875, and it's always the first Saturday in May at Churchill Downs in Louisville. So I don't know if you've ever watched the Kentucky Derby. I have a few times. And it was started by the grandson of Clark, of Lewis and Clark. But the race limits horses. Only 3-year-olds can race. And a horse, I don't know, this is something I looked up. The horse's names has to have a maximum of 18 characters. It's registered with a unique name. Initials aren't permitted. May not end with filly, colt, stud, or mare. May not consist of numbers unless the numbers are above 30 and you can spell it out.
I didn't know to bring medication, so that's.
Yeah, so anyway,
Yeah.
They have, if you want to include the name of someone, that person has been dead for more than 50 years.
Great.
And the owners have to submit choices to the jockey club for that name to be permanent.
Thank you. Okay, see you tomorrow.
And 3,000 names are protected. They can never be reused. No suggestive or vulgar words can be used in that too. So I wanted to ask you a few things about the book and what you thought of it, because it's received so many accolades that it was hard for me to get the book, and I never did get it in the audio version from the library. I guess it was on the whole because I really like audiobooks. But what are some of your thoughts about the book and the way it's styled and the chapters that go through a period of almost 100 years and keep changing and adding new people? Tell me what you think about that. Anyone?
I love Geraldine Brooks as a writer. I love her research. I love the way she goes through and does things. I didn't get the list of YouTubes for some reason. I did watch one, and I kind of beg to differ with some of her opinion on it, because telling the Black story from a white woman, and how is that done and how is it handled? And it was really interesting because her comment to it was, and I'm probably going out of turn on some of the things you might be trying to do, Evelyn, but I thought it was interesting because she said, as long as you're trying to present it with empathy and understanding that it's okay to tell a story. And what was really interesting is I just finished an Indigenous book called Lee Maricol is an Indigenous orator. And taking someone else's story in that world is the same as stealing from the children, because it's their story to tell, which was just an interesting, just a juxtaposition in some of the things that she said. I really liked the story. I liked the different timelines and the different things that it presented in the progress, lack of progress.
Yeah, I think a lot of what Becky said, when you tell it from 3 vantage points, it takes you a little bit longer to adjust. I love how thoroughly she's researched. I think sometimes, the transition, you stop and you think a minute, oh yeah, which character am I now? But I certainly learned a lot. I think her writing, I've always liked her as a writer. I think, it's really an exercise in stretching your mind a bit. And of course, being somebody who loved horses growing up, couldn't have my own, but did a lot of writing, that, just learning that much more and refreshing what you knew about horses and what you didn't know made it thoroughly enjoyable. And as Evelyn said, it's hard to get hold of it. I had read it a year ago, February, when I went to pick it up. I know where there's a free copy down the road, but I haven't even had time to get down and pick it up and reread it. So you can go on and get, while you're waiting, for number 81 on the list or something, you can read the first 85 pages again or something. But well done. I can't imagine, I mean, what a life Geraldine Brooks has led, from, starting in Australia, and that's our character, but similar, a change of careers, and to be a serious writer, and to, do so much on the vineyard. Anyway, I really loved it. I wanted to, Evelyn picked it, but I had picked, I had my hand up to say I wanted to do horse when Evelyn got it. So
Oh,
back to
oh,
Evelyn.
oh, okay. Yeah. Well, there's only one person in the story who speaks in the first person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's Thomas Scott. Everything else is in third person. So what do you think of that change of structure?
Again, it takes more adjusting in your head, kind of.
Have to take notes.
Yeah.
Okay. What
Just to keep up.
Interesting. I'm trying to remember, because I read it a few months ago, when it
Daisy.
became available, and
Yeah.
I didn't read because the list was long. And I didn't remember that because Thomas Scott's the artist, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember, because he's not, to me, a major character in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And I was surprised that you just said that. Interesting.
Well, one of the things in the chapter about Theo and his relationship with Jess, Theo, in his youth, he was a polo rider, and my son John played polo, and he did horse dancing and all kinds of fantastic horse playing, and polo matches were fabulous to watch. But they also mentioned when they were at the museum cleaning the canvases, and they said they used spit. And I'd been at a program at the community church, the women's club, and they had representatives from restoration from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And that's how they clean the art at the museum. They spit into a piece of cotton, and then they just wipe until they run out of spit. But
Well, who knew that beetles clean bones better than chemicals?
yeah, that's interesting. And her knowledge of all the parts of the horse is so amazing. I didn't even know horses had those many things, and how they were expressed, and her vocabulary was pretty phenomenal. She said that in one of those interviews that she was able to devise the vocabulary in what the blacks said from court records of their own conversations. Otherwise, how would she have known how they speak?
That's very difficult.
I'm also a fan of the author. I've always liked her writing, enjoy the way she writes. And I really knew very little about horses. And so it was a real education for me. I found it fascinating. I always knew that my father loved to go to the racetrack. It was sort of his hobby. And we had, in the California area, we had two major tracks. And
Santa Anita, yeah, is one that I went to.
if he wasn't going, because he he only went when he wasn't working, so he wasn't going all the time, but he would always read the statistics in the newspaper and figure out who was going to win the race based on what horse they came from.
Oh,
So
really?
he was very aware of that,
Yeah.
and I was reminded of that as I was reading the book. But you know, she managed to get so much detail into this book about horses and about horse owners. I thought the book was really interesting. I just finished, as I said, I had a house full of people for over 2 weeks, so I just finished the very last page last night. So that's very fresh in my mind.
It is good.
Did not get to watch the videos, but I think I'm gonna go back and do that.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. But
What,
I thought the storyline was interesting about horses and the whole business of horses and who owns horses and how they treat them and so on and so forth. And then it turned into a romance. And then it turned into a murderous situation. So, I mean, there was a lot to deal with.
Mhm.
There was a lot in the story, in the book.
she said in one of the interviews, the more implausible, the more real the book would be, because some of the stories just didn't seem possible, but that was not the way she felt about it.
Anybody ever been to the races in Saratoga?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah, my family was from up that way, and of course, pretty conservative families, and that was considered bad. You know, the bad guys hung around the tracks, the bad guys bet and stuff. And here this is, as comes out, of course, a major sport from the Civil War on. People made millions with racehorses. But what we were allowed to do finally, because I couldn't go all those years, we were up there in August and it was race time, never allowed to go to the races. And I loved horses. I always wanted to.
Oh, really?
Finally, years later, turns
Wow.
out I'm at my cousin's in Schuylerville, and he suggests we go to the morning workout before the races. They have a wonderful brunch. You get to see the horses run on the track. You know, you miss the beautiful cats and stuff, but it's such a classic place. I mean, it was in its glory. If we read Saratoga Trunk a lot of years ago, you know, when everybody of any substance came to Saratoga and were part of the social scene, but the money behind the scenes, I never thought of it as a sport or how, you know, how it really was a sport only for the wealthy, but how addictive my family's background, don't ever gamble, you know, so don't get suckered up into the betting. At the time we went for the brunch, my sister's husband had done all the research on the horses that we were seeing running. And so
Wow.
he went and bet because he was sure he knew what they were going to do. We stayed for brunch and stuff, but you got to be a genius to beat the odds, I think. I don't think he would.
Mhm.
Maybe he
I
got
always,
a-
always bet on the color of the silks. That's
Yeah.
why. But
Okay.
in the story, it said that only white jockeys were allowed to ride. Even the
Yeah.
Jared couldn't ride the horse, you know, because it was black. That's awful.
And that's a change.
Now,
It-
Evelyn knows this. Our nephew was a vet. We went to college with Evelyn's daughter, as a matter of fact. And he was his specialty was horses,
Wow.
large animals. And he had a variety of jobs with horses, and he tried working at racetracks twice, and he said they're really nasty people
Yes, they are.
working at the track. with the horses.
Mhm.
You know, and he pretty much gave up on the racetracks. He, by the way, is now the chief veterinarian, veterinarian in the state of Maryland.
Oh, my.
He's managed very well. He's gotten
And
away from
lar-
that. He's dealing with a lot of chickens and pigs.
In Maryland.
Well, in Maryland. So, but what Laura said about the people who hung around the racetrack. Well, remember 10 broke? And what a devious guy he was, right? He was going, he let the horse ride even though the horse was sick. And he manipulated all kinds of parlays. And I read his obituary online, and he died, and he had millions of dollars back when millions were a lot of money. Now they'd be billions. But he died penniless and by himself because nobody liked him. He was difficult. He was mean. He was dishonest.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But if you look at the Kentucky Derby, though, that people dress so beautifully, and it's kind of a society thing to go to the Kentucky Derby and to have that day. And
Well, I mean, look what that has done for the economy of the state of Kentucky. I mean, that is such a major source of outside income for the state. It's just, I mean, you think it, as you're saying, the money behind all that, whether it has negative back issues. And gambling, as we know, is more addictive than alcohol.
is that right?
That's what
Really?
I've heard. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, you always think you can beat the odds. Alcohol, I think, sooner or later destroys your body, and you know you can't beat it.
We've got advertisements on TV telling people not that the gaming, well, between famous actors and actresses that are now advertising for all of these gaming commissions, there's now been a blowback of betting, gambling is an addictive problem. And it's interesting that for all of these famous actors, there's now actually being some blowback with the trillions of dollars being spent on gambling.
Oh, it's killing college sports, for example. And every sport you can name behind the scenes, there's too much betting.
Yeah, we had the derby we had in the UK over the weekend, and there was all of those people who were on the track just frightening away the horses and generally mayhem. I mean, they were all arrested. You know, it's horrible. But you know, I remember even when the Joanna was going to, oh, where the heck did they go to school? The same one as Jane.
Cornell or Michigan
No, high school, I should have said.
Newman Prep.
Newman Prep, yes. And even at that time, there was gambling. There was a lot of gambling in the in the senior school, and you know, some of the residents lived here.
I didn't know that.
Not
What
only
about
the parents, but the kids as well, or boys in particular.
the cruelty to the horses? Sandra, you're someone know about that.
I'm
How do you
sorry, I didn't
feel
get
about the horses in those carts in New York? That
Oh, that's terrible. I thought
Yeah.
they almost stopped that because they were dying in the street with the heat. That was what was going on there.
No, you're talking about the New York City horses that go around in Central Park.
I guess.
Oh, This is really funny. My sister who's still very much into horses, has been in touch with a number of people there with different horse associations, because the horses are housed in downtown New York in a real estate area that is very prominent. And it is from, according to my sister, and I really don't, I have not read on this, but there has been a lot of anger and problems with real estate agencies that are spreading a lot of nasty, horrible rumors because they want the land.
Yes. Mhm.
And it was really funny when walking around in that area down in Central Park with her back when I was in Jersey, and we were looking at the animals and they were in great shape. And I don't know. I mean, I'm only telling you a other side of it. I believe that, according to her, that there were a lot of nasty things said because the land is more valuable and
And the
land for
horses.
people than the horses. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of nasty rumor spread to try to get people on board with getting rid of the horses.
I was surprised to
That's
learn that
still-
horses live
Still going,
25 to 30 years of age.
I was going to just say, is that still going on now? Because I remember a period of time back a number of years when it was in the newspapers daily.
Mhm.
But I haven't seen anything about the horses other than they're well cared for, anytime recently. So
Last year there was a lot. Whenever the summer is hot, that's when the horses have a problem because they shouldn't be out there. And they die in the heat. And we saw that we saw it on television regularly last summer.
Well, or as she points out, dealing with the smell, people don't like the smell, and it's exacerbated by the heat.
Mhm.
Isn't it amazing how well Jared took care of the horse?
Oh, amazing.
He slept in the stall. And the horse was like
His
little
best friend.
yeah, his best friend, right? And the horse would nudge him, and he'd pet the horse and massage him and make him feel so comfortable.
I thought she
Evelyn, the
described
horse
that
whisperer.
wonderfully well. I think that's part of how well she writes, that you really can relate to that feeling or that relationship.
What about Martha Jackson? Did she leave us sort of wondering when Martha called on Paul Mellon and Paul Mellon didn't respond, and then she went and picked up the painting? Do you think there could have been more to that story? What do you think that kind of left us hanging?
I don't know.
Anyone? No?
Yes, Sandra, she's read it most recently.
Yeah.
I thought that there was supposed to be a tribute to, no. Sandra, tell us.
Yeah, I don't really know.
No, well, she took the painting to him and asked him if he'd like to buy it and how much he thought it would be worth, but she didn't want to badger him. And so he said, I'll think about it. And I always ask my wife her opinions. And so he said, just leave it with me and I'll get back to you. And so she didn't, and she didn't bother him. And she waited, I think it was almost a month. And she called his office, and the person answering said, well, he's in Europe and he won't be back for a long time. So she didn't know what to do about that, because she felt like she didn't want to badger him. So she merely said, well, in that case, I told them I was going to leave it there for a week, so I'll send someone over to pick it up. And that was the end of the Paul Mellon story.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like she was leaving us hanging, that she didn't do more.
Yeah, I remember being annoyed by that now that you bring it up. It's just, it's hard to, there are an awful lot of details in that book.
Yeah, and why did she bring in Lee Krasner and Jackson Pollock? It was kind of like gossip, right? Because Pollock killed himself and
In
he
the
was a-
convertible, yeah.
but it was kind of like, how did that add to the story? What do you think?
Well, the fact that the painting of the horse was a genre that was equally valuable in an era of abstract expressionism, I think maybe just to tie it in, it was still a beautiful thing to own. I'd rather have the picture of the horse than anything Jackson Pollock ever did. Thank you very much.
Nasty.
My opinion.
Of course.
Has anyone ever read The Horse Whisperer?
The horse
Yeah.
whisperer.
Yeah, years and years ago.
Yeah, I'm
The Horse with
curious
what?
now too.
The Horse Whisperer. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And
but
the
we
man who
did,
could, could literally talk to the horse,
but we did Seabiscuit one year.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So how do you feel about this book? How would you rate it?
I enjoyed it. It was really funny. I just took more exception to listening to one of her interviews just because we recently did the Indigenous orator, saying that, no, you take my story, you take it from my grandchildren, you take my legacy. But in general, I enjoyed it. But it's really funny when you bring up different aspects of why was this guy here and why was that guy here? It's like, oh yeah, how come? But it's also been a while since I read it, so I don't remember how it was threaded in.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I read it even the whole thing, as I say, over a year ago. And I do remember being frustrated by a couple of loose ends that you're talking about, but having really loved horses, I loved learning that much more about them and thinking about them in different eras, not just the era in which I grew up and loved horses, but, from the Civil War on. I found it, particularly informative and very, for anybody who ever really rode horses or cared, it just really appeals. You don't get a book with that many details that is readable in a fiction form. I think we have kids' books that introduce you to horses, but not quite the same as Geraldine Brooks.
And who would have known that the blacks were the grooms?
Yeah, well, what a key part. I mean, I think you always knew they were grooms, but that they had so much more to do with the evolving and training of a racehorse and making that industry such a major sport, be it crooked or otherwise.
So when you watch the Kentucky Derby in a few weeks,
Yeah,
be thinking about who took care of this horse before.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I will.
How was he treated before he got out on that, to the start?
Yeah. And who sired the horse? Yeah. And I think it's very expensive to own a horse and
Oh,
to keep
very.
Yes.
stable, a trainer, etc.
Oh, to show a horse, the money involved. I went down, Barbara Columbia's granddaughter has ridden, is currently, Evelyn, you may know, riding as a senior at University of South Carolina on a full scholarship, but the money, just to buy the boots they have to wear, the money at Palm Beach, at the Polo Club that goes into just dressing someone to get on the horse, let alone own the horse, feed the horse, buy the horse. They lease horses. Columbia's have made money leasing horses. I mean, like cars, who would think you can lease them? And there's so many variations of that. Unfortunately, some of, as we've saying, not all with honest, true money and welfare of animals behind it. But
Well, I went to a secondhand store to buy my job purse and my hacking jacket.
Well, that's
Do
why,
they
that's
still
why
have the
my,
horse competitions at, do they still do the horse competitions in Smoke Rise?
yes,
Yeah,
they do.
Yes,
Yes, they do, but they don't have.
yeah,
the
but not
stable
at
anymore.
Smooth Rise. No, well,
They board them mostly in Boonton Township, and they
right.
actually come up in a van to practice on the Smoke Rise tracks, which is amazing, because that alone is not cheap. You own the horse, you gotta pay your instructor trainee to drive that horse in a van up to Smoke Rise to ride around a rink for maybe an hour and drive it back to its home in Boonton. Think of how much that costs before you even get in the show ring for little deers
Exactly.
that are maybe 4 years old or 5 years old.
Oh, and some of the people that trucked in, and you look at their equipment, and I mean, the huge vehicles that they brought them in, and sleeping quarters, and oh my gosh, they were. I got a tour a couple of times of some of the vehicles alone,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
that were well into six figures, well into six figures.
Mm-hmm.
Not even talking about the horse yet.
Right.
The lessons, anything else, just transportation.
Mm.
So it brought up a lot of memories for people of who've owned horses, who have ridden horses, and
Well, even
and
just
we
people
got-
who have lived in Smoke Rise, you've all had, you know, to greater or lesser extent, a connection with the riding club and the riding
That's
ring.
right.
you know?
Yep. I mean, both girls rode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I was scared when I was in the competition and said, Jane, what should I do? Because Jane and Robert were both blue ribbon winners, and Jane said, Mom, just smile.
Yeah. They judge you on when you're not showing fear.
Oh dear. Mm.
Well, who's going to ride next? That's the next question.
I know.
I don't think so. I don't want to fall off.
Been there, done that.
I'd get up on a horse.
You would?
I took my granddaughter quite a few years ago on an elder hostel program in the mountains of northern Georgia. And we each were assigned a horse for the week. I mean, it was a fascinating experience.
A week.
You you went out every day, and we went to a horse auction. We did all sorts of fascinating. It was a wonderful, wonderful program, and a great. You need a granddaughter, or a grandson, but probably ideal age, say 9 to 12, pre-teenage, and just a wonderful bonding experience of learning about horses. And a week with your horse, and you really have lived the horse life.
Wow, a week of that, and your butt must have hurt after a week of riding every day.
No. I mean, you could ride Western if you wanted to. I mean, I know how to post, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of trail riding. They weren't doing a lot of cantering with young people. We did have a lady go down on a pavement, and that is frightening.
Ooh.
A horse goes down on a road, but
Yeah.
she, kept her seat, got up, and all was well. But you can get thrown on a pavement and destroy your shoulder forever. And you don't
Wow.
let a horse go down on top of you. If you're agile, you jump off. But
On your computer.
enough
Good for
horror
you.
stories. I've seen them.
With that horse.
Good for you. Oh, I couldn't do it.
At 90, I would have to sign a lot of waivers, but I would do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never been
Yes, and your-
on horses, but I had a sort of experience
Oh,
that
okay.
Evelyn started out with. Or my uncle had a couple of horses on his spread, and my cousin decided that I should ride one of the horses. And I backed away very quickly, and he picked me up and he put me on the horse and slapped the horse on his back end. And of course the horse took off, and I thought I was going to die, that I was going to fall off this horse and it was going to trample me. And I've never gotten over that. Now, back to my nephew, Michael has a big barn full of horses. And he said, oh, you got to go see the new, what do you call them when they're babies?
Oh,
Anyway, he had just birthed this cute little
Oh,
bundle that was about this
yeah.
big.
That's what he said.
And
Oh.
he said, go and see him. He's really cute. And meantime, he was out in the field. So I went in and I said, which stall is he in? He's right there with his mother. And so
Aw.
I walked in and I got this far to the spot and put my fingers there, stuck my head around, and then I had a horse's face in my face. It
Oh,
scared
nice.
the heck out of me. I still I'm afraid they're so big. They are big animals. But most of them are gentle. As long as they're treated well, they're
Yeah.
gentle.
They are big. When they talked about burying one of those horses and they had to, it reminded me of the whales who died on the Jersey Shore. They have to get
Yeah.
all kinds of equipment in to haul them away to bury them. Well, she said 7 years to write this book.
I
She
believe
did
it.
a lot of research, a tremendous,
7 years. Wow.
yeah.
What was she doing in between time?
Well, she said that she wrote between the school buses because her kids would get on the bus and then she'd write, and then when the bus delivered them after school, she was done for the day and taking care of her kids. And she had, if you saw the interview, she and Tony Horowitz, her husband, had one son, and then they adopted an Ethiopian child at 5 years of age.
Yeah.
And she said that when he goes off island, that I guess she has to counsel him about the way people would look at him. But on Martha's Vineyard, everybody knows them, and it's just like everybody else. So,
Yeah, interesting aside, since I'm in Florida, DeSantis was sending them a few immigrants to help change that image.
change the image. Okay. So you think this was a good choice, horse?
I'm glad I read it.
I'm glad I read it.
Good. Christine, what did you
Didn't
think?
know anything about it. I haven't read it.
Oh, okay. But now you can.
Now I can.
No, wait a minute. The question is, have we made you want to read it?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Horses, absolutely. Yes.
Good.
No, I haven't been doing much of anything, and I've lost all my hair and
Oh, why? From chemo?
COVID.
COVID.
I was in the hospital for 5 weeks.
I know you were in a nursing home. What happened after that? You've been home?
Yeah, yes, I had physical therapy people, or therapy generally, for 3 weeks here.
Good.
And that was over 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, something like that. So I've just been not doing much. I mean, I've been reading. I read that book. What is it called? Nightingale. I mean, nearly 600 pages of Nightingale is a lot of reading. I mean, that's going to be my recommendation. One of my recommendations.
So how are you feeling?
I'm tired. I'm tired.
Well, your body's been through a lot.
It has, and my walking is not brilliant. Some days it's absolutely incredible. And then other days, if I've been sitting too long, I'm not doing well at all.
So when is your hair coming back?
How the heck do I know?
I don't have any to lend you.
No. I look at my granddaughter and I think, for goodness sake, I could do with a transplant, except that her hair is black and mine isn't. It will all work itself out eventually. I mean, my doctor, basically, that was what she said the other day. So, and then I mean, I had three things, one on top of the other. What was it? RSV. Then I was in the hospital for that, came home, and then got COVID and was in the hospital with COVID. Well, you know, it was 5 weeks of the hospital and then the rehab and then UTI. And so, so I'm now on my third antibiotic for that. So don't ask me how I am.
Okay.
Well, it's good.
We're just glad to see you.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
You've got
so
it
good.
all.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And you're
next-
reading the Nightingale?
Yes.
And
I think we did that a long time ago, didn't we?
Did you? I have no idea.
who's it
It's not,
by?
it's not a new book.
Kristen,
The World War
Yeah,
II
Kristen
nursing.
Hanna.
Yes.
We read that a long time ago.
we did. Oh well, I'm sorry. Then I
Okay.
would suggest it.
Well, I mean, if nobody remembers, we can always read them again. You know, it can be a classic. Come on.
The other one I read, and I can't remember the title. It's here somewhere in the back to front. Dust Off the Bones.
Yeah.
That's an Australian one.
Yeah, we
talked
did
about
that one with you.
Yeah, we did that.
All right.
So
Okay,
next
back
month,
to the beginning.
we have
Margaret Atwood, this
Yes,
is for Becky. Margaret Atwood's new book is short stories, so we could just do one story at a time. Concentrate on one.
Laura, you're on for next month. Are you going to be
I
here?
think what our last meeting said, because Meredith was going to be away, we are not going till September. That's
Oh.
my notes on that. I let Nancy
Know
take-
that.
I mean, I'm happy to do something if somebody tells me, but
Well, I'm glad you told me because I would have started in the book right away. So I'll wait.
Right.
I mean, my last email from her says we put off one of the others that everybody's read.
I have the personal librarian.
Personal librarian in September. That's on my notes. Yeah.
Oh, it's in September.
In
Okay.
September. Yeah. And that's one that we had put off.
Right.
And I think Meredith is doing that one. Am I right?
I think I vaguely remember.
And personal librarian is good. I mean, I've read it. You know, we've talked about it in other book groups.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot in common with the theme of part of this book.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether you get too much blackness or too much women's, you know, there are a lot of books that are pushing, you know, how far women have come or have not come, or same thing with how far Black Lives Matter and how they have been applied. You know, a lot of common themes, but that's what people are talking about and people are writing about.
Right.
Right.
And we don't do politics, I guess.
So that's what Geraldine
Oh.
said in one of these interviews, that it may seem like this is old story, but it's not. When you think about the news today about,
Racism, you know, racism goes on,
yeah, it does.
not just in racing a horse.
No, not
Yeah.
at all.
So I'm sorry we missed Nancy,
Oh, me too.
and I hope she got back okay.
Well,
I
where's
think
she
she's
been?
I think she's just about landing in Newark as we speak.
Oh, wow.
Where is she coming from?
She
Florida.
finally flew out of West Palm. She was in the airport below Palm Beach that was flooded. Fort
Lauderdale.
Lauderdale, thank you. That was flooded. So then they shipped her over the next day to West Palm Airport, which is west of Palm Beach. And they got on a plane, and that plane wasn't working right, and they canceled those flights. So she got off, and so they booked another one. At that point, you know, on the third go round, you take what you can get, which happened to be during this particular time when she was going to run the Zoom. So she hasn't tried running a Zoom meeting from an airplane yet. We're not quite sure. Maybe next month.
Next.
If you talk to her before we do, tell her we missed her. I'm
I
going to,
certainly will. I said I am recording this for her. I will send her. She can come home and hear anything she missed.
Yeah.
So, say hello, Nancy.
yeah,
Oh,
And
Well,
I don't know what happened to Jackie Arkin. I don't know what happened. We were
I
hoping
thought she
Mary,
was.
Mary
I thought
Gillespie.
she was not coming at all.
I don't think, I don't
She
think
is
she's.
on a
Is
list.
there
that-
something about her back? I mean, she's in a wheelchair most of the time.
Jackie is?
Yeah,
I didn't
Well,
know that.
yeah.
to set this up, I used the list that Nancy had used to send out links, and that's what I took, and she's on it.
Yes, she is. So she always replies to her or sends her information.
Yeah.
But I've seen her working in the library over at, is it Cedar Crest?
She's at Cedar Crest, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But,
And I think, that's the extent, sadly, we miss Ruth Spellman. always
what
had
about
something else
Chris?
to say.
Chris'
Snyder.
husband died.
Yeah, well, Chris
Snyder.
chose not to go on with the group.
Chris
with the
Snyder.
list.
Oh, she
Yeah.
did. Oh, I
I
didn't
think
know
Chris
that.
Snyder has decided, like 6 months ago, that she was not going to be part of the group.
Oh, I thought it was just because she'd gone to
And
her.
if she wants to come back, there's certainly room.
Sure,
I got more
absolutely.
squares on my
Mhm.
TV.
So when
Yeah.
are you coming, when did you say you're coming back? First week in May?
May 8th, it's a Saturday, May 6th, excuse me.
Well, I'm going to Florida at the end of May for my grandson's high school graduation.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Jane's meeting me, and so she arranged for us to have a house on the beach at Treasure Island, since we'll be already in Florida.
Well, good.
Oh, nice.
You come down further. I have a friend here who's brings her grandkids down, but they do archaeological digs in the Everglades. You can arrange one of those if you wanted to.
Wow.
Oh, wouldn't that?
That's more in the central Florida area, but it just depends where you are. You can
Wow.
dig in your own backyard. You can probably dig something up in Smoke Rose.
Yeah.
You can find a horse.
The only
If
thing
we
is
go
that
down to
can
the
found
stable,
arrows.
if we go down to the stables and dig, we might find a little baby colt that was born prematurely.
Ah,
You think? Ouch.
Don't know. I didn't own. I am not a Talbot. I am not Mr. Kinney. I did not live here when the stables had a different origin.
mm.
Hmm.
They've had a lot of transition.
Have they ever? Yes. What was the horse that died in the field? Slate, was it? He was about 100 years old. And my kids used to ride on him. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad everyone enjoyed the book.
Yes,
Evelyn,
thank
where
you,
do you
Evelyn.
live?
Yes, and nice job of trying to keep us together.
Evelyn, are you still in Smoke Rice? Are you in Smoke Rice or where do you live now?
Who?
Evelyn,
She
Oh,
lives here.
Same
You're-
house.
you're
Same
still, okay, you're all right. Well, but you weren't for a while. For quite,
Oh, that's when she broke her hip.
yes.
52 years, and I'm still here. And everybody's
Well,
out of there. Well, what am I gonna do with everything? So I don't know.
I
My
know
son-
exactly what Evelyn is saying, and I've been in the house longer than she.
Yeah. My son wants me to move to Gainesville, so I don't know. We'll see. They're coming next month.
You've got to have a house sale, first of all. You've got to do a room at a time. You can't do the whole house at one. Absolutely not.
Well, they're coming next month because my granddaughter has an internship in Connecticut and they're going to bring her. And I'm fearing it because they're going to come and say, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Yeah.
If they want to come and empty my house at that point, send them down the hill. Happy to have them.
Oh, golly.
I have
I
discovered
can
that
point to you then when I say, not everybody's leaving.
the children
Yeah.
are always very.
No, so where would you go, Laura?
Somewhere nearer my kids. I have money down in Bedford, Massachusetts at Carlton Willard. I'm going to go spend next Thursday night there, but I don't really want to move there because I have a good time down here in the winter, and it's being in Massachusetts. they have lots of activities, year round, but the really big ones are in the winter when I might not be there. They charge $500,000 to move in, $6,000 or more, $6,000 or $7,000 a month. You're there or not, it's not cheap. You don't just move in, it's better if you sell your house.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah. I mean, they're wonderful, but how many more years do I have left anyway?
And it's cheaper to live here, right?
Those are ethical problems. Who knows the answer? Not to be discussed on Zoom, I guess. That's being recorded, Gold.
Oh, that-
So,
Oh my goodness. Well, how old is this fellow, Murdoch? I mean, 92? And
That's
he
nothing.
just got engaged and then disengaged. I mean, give me a break. How many wives has he had?
Who's that?
Rupert
This
Murdoch
Rupert Murdoch.
Oh,
owns Fox
What is
News.
it? Not.
We won't discuss them. No politics.
Okay.
Or I am ending this meeting.
No,
Yeah.
but what I'm talking about is his age. 92.
Oh, I know lots of people who are 92.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
I actually
I
have
don't know anyone.
a classmate. No, do you know me? I am 90 years old. My classmate, who was 5 years older than I, is flying back from Japan as we speak, having traveled the Orient for the last month. It can be done.
oh, that's good to know. Something to look forward to. It's so good.
Yeah,
Becky,
there you go.
So you move far away. It's like you're right here.
Well, that's the view behind me is one you can see on a good evening out my Illinois.
Nice, very nice.
That's looking across the Indian River Lagoon to the intercoastal. But it isn't like that all the time. And the sun moves up the river, so you don't always see it. That's a fall sunset. Anyway, I don't know. Go
We
ahead.
have a meeting coming up. Does anybody know?
A what?
We will check with Nancy and Nancy and I will keep you informed. And I think I'm going to end this meeting. And if
Okay.
nobody objects, because
All right.
I got to go, be prepared to pick my daughter up at the airport shortly.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
everybody stay well. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry we missed a few characters, but it will be continued.
Yes.
Bye,
All
everyone.
right. Bye, ladies.
All right, bye all. Be well, be
Nice to
safe,
catch
be
up with
healthy.